Okay. Today's lecture is going to be about Nowruz, the birth of the sun god. Thank you guys for joining. This is a celebration that all of the Sabians celebrate. All of the Sabians celebrate Nowruz, the birth of the sun god, when the sun god Ra came out of the egg. Okay? Mandaeans celebrate their new year known as Nowruz Rabbah. This new year, Nowruz, is most commonly associated with the Zoroastrians. Today I'm going to show you it's not just the Zoroastrians that celebrate Nowruz, all of the Sabians celebrate Nowruz. Mandaeans celebrate their new year known as Nowruz Rabbah. New Year's Eve is called cleaning and lustration. On this day, sheep and chicken are slaughtered. Bread is baked and kept in the house. Jars and pots are filled with water, enough for 36 hours. So this is very interesting. They tell us that on Nowruz, on the new year, Mandaeans fill up their buckets with water enough for 36 hours. So a day and a half, basically. This is because Yardina was not created during the first 36 hours, so river water is considered to be coming from the world of darkness, as Khalid Miran had showed us in his video. Go back to the videos of Khalid Miran if you can't remember. But God created Yardina, the great life after he came out of the egg. The great life, as we've said, is the hidden sun in the world of existence. He came out of the egg from the world of non-existence. He came into the world of existence out of an egg, and he created Yardina. In the world of existence, he created Yardina, which is Venus. Okay. And Yardina is the goddess of water. And since she wasn't created during the first 36 hours, they don't go near rivers because they think that it's coming from the world of darkness, since the goddess of water did not exist at that time. Okay? 36 hours before the night of New Year, during which period priests and laymen retire into the house, where they must remain without going outside, no matter for what purpose. Reason: the New Year honors Mana Rabba Kabira, and how he completed his work of creation. Okay, the great life, hidden sun, coming out of the cosmic egg. On this day, the spirits of light gather together to embark on a 12-hour journey to visit the great Mana and show their appreciation towards him. Abathor, the judge, Abathor of the scales, closes his door. Nidbai and Silmai forsake their posts as the guardians of running water. Hibil and Shittel and Anush depart. The dwellers in Mishunia Kushta, with Adam Kassia at their head and their guardian, all rise into the infinite worlds of light. They travel by vehicles of light, and this celestial journey takes them 12 hours. They reach the realm of light at the dawn of the new year and spend the next 12 hours praying and praising the great ones. Their journey back covers the next night. While the guardians are gone, the world is left defenseless. Mandaeans protect themselves from pollution by staying at home praying. Second day of the new year, the invisible guardians having returned, the vigil is over and there is a general jubilation. So Khalid Miran actually told us, originally told us, what did he say? He told us that this is not to celebrate the creation of earth. He said that basically, it says here that they go up to thank, the deities, the angels, they go up to the great Mana to thank him for his deeds, for his works. But Khalid Miran has a different opinion. Khalid Miran says, why would the angels thank the great manna for the creation of the world? Because the world is seen as coming from darkness. The physical material world is seen as coming from darkness. So he reasons, he says, if these angels are going to thank the great man for anything, it could be because he created heavens, he created the light world, right? But it can't be because he created the earth, right? It can't be because the earth is coming from the world of darkness. And he says that the first 36 hours are obviously because Yardina was not created yet. The great life emerged from the egg, but Yardina was not created yet. So from the Yazidis, God says in their holy book, pray for us twice every day, and remember me in your hearts, and do not forget me on the night of Nowruz. Pray 7 times and recite the supplications with faith, devotion, humility, and submission. Mus'haf asserts, in the beginning, God, which must mean the universal spirit, created the white pearl out of his most precious essence, and he created a bird named Anfar, and he placed the pearl upon its back and dwelt thereon 40,000 years. On the first day of creation, which was a Sunday, it has to be a Sunday because it's the day of the sun, he created an angel named Azazel, which is Malik Taus, which is the sun god, the chief of all. Mus'haf goes on to name 6 other angels. These are the 6 remaining planets, or the spirits that reside over the 6 remaining planets, each created in the following days of the first week of creation, in the first epoch. In fact, it is Malik Taus who creates the material world, using the dismembered pieces of the original cosmic egg, or pearl in which the spirit once resided. So the Yazidis also celebrate the night of Nowruz. Now, before we talk about that, let's just read this. Continuing about the Yazidis, on the first Wednesday of April, Yazidis celebrate the feast of Sarasel. This is Persian for New Year. So it's on the first Wednesday of April. It's held. This is not the same date which the Zoroastrians or the Mandaeans celebrate this. Of the Persian New Year, it includes visiting family graves where food is placed for passerbys, gathering scarlet ranunculus to adorn their houses, and colorful decoration of eggs. Let's watch this video together. So the Yazidis color eggs to celebrate the world coming into existence, because this is when the cosmic egg hatched and the sun got dark. And this is what Christians call Easter nowadays. This is where it's coming from. Jesus as a sun god. He was born, or maybe reborn. And what better way to symbolize the birth of the sun god than with eggs? The colored egg of knowledge. 2 pages, this is from the Manichaean sources, 2 pages of a Manichaean text in the Middle Persian celebrate the arrival of Nowruz with verses invoking joy and renewal. Nowruz has come, and with it new joy. Prepare the feast, for life is full of happiness. Okay, so we've seen it with the Mandaeans, the Yazidis, the Manichaeans. Let's go ahead and look at the Zoroastrians. Although the earliest sources provide little detail, Nowruz within Zoroastrianism relates to the vernal equinox and the beginning of spring. It is tied closely with Rapithwin, the personification of summer and noon, who retreats during the winter and returns with spring at noon on Nowruz. The oscillation between winter and summer resonates with the Zoroastrian dualistic moral cosmology that posits a battle between good and evil. The holiday usually falls on March 21st. Okay. March 21st is called the vernal equinox or the spring equinox. Basically, this is the start of spring. The spring festival was one of merriment, sweets, music, the sprinkling of water, gifts, fine clothes, and colored eggs. Just like the Yazidis with the colored eggs, it was observed by royalty with feasting, music, and poetry. Let's go ahead and read from Zoroastrians, their religious beliefs and practices. The people of the empire, from the Persians and Medes themselves and other Iranians to far-dwelling Indians and Egyptians, Babylonians and Greeks, the representatives of these people came bearing offerings, and it is widely held that the processions represent the annual bringing of gifts to the King of Kings at the day of Nowruz. The effectiveness of the old devotional year, with its 7 holy days of obligation, had already been threatened in Achaemenian times by the founding of additional name-day feasts in honor of individual Amisha Pentas. The first 6 divinities, the Amisha Pentas, the spirits of the 6 planets. And now it became so elaborate with its dogmatic purpose was overwhelmed, that its dogmatic purpose was overwhelmed. From 6 days, the Gahambras, Amisha Spenta celebrations, had been extended to 36, and the 7th feast, Nowruz, was duplicated and was celebrated after the new 10-day feast of the Fravashis, people's heavenly doubles. All of this gradually obscured the significance of the great obligatory feast, and in later times the vital connection between Nowruz and the Gahambras was largely lost to view. Okay, so this is gonna make sense later on. There's basically some changes that have happened to Zoroastrianism in regards to the Nowruz celebration and the days that follow it. We're going to talk about this later on. During Nowruz, Zoroastrians also boil and color eggs, just like the Yazidis. This represents creation. Before the earth was created, there was nothing but primordial waters, which had color. Color is the best symbol of life and creation. It is also evident to us that the Greco-Romans celebrated Nowruz, since Christians today boil and color eggs on Easter. Shia Muslims celebrate Nowruz as the new year in Islam, according to the solar Hijri calendar. And the Hijri calendar, for anyone who doesn't know, is when the Prophet migrated from Mecca to Medina. This was the start of the solar Hijri calendar. The first day of the solar Hijri calendar was the day of the spring equinox. In other words, Nowruz. The day of the spring equinox is Nowruz, March 18th. So, the Shia Muslims claim that the Prophet Muhammad migrated from Medina to Mecca on this day, on the day of Nowruz. This is from the Shia sources. Abu Abdullah al-Siddiq said, Nowruz and the ancient house in Mecca. This is nothing but an old matter that I will explain to you so that you might understand it. The day of Nowruz is the day on which Allah took covenants from His servants to worship Him and not participate in polytheism, to believe in His messengers and His proofs, and to believe in the Imams. And it was the first day on which the sun rose, Every Nowruz we expect relief, for it is one of our holy days as Shia. See that? The second largest Muslim sect, the Shia, that's basically the Iranians, celebrate Nowruz, and they believe it's one of their holy days, and they believe the sun came out on this day. Where does this all come from? It's coming from the Egyptians. But first, let's go ahead and read about the Romans. The Roman New Year also originally corresponded with the vernal spring equinox, Nowruz basically. But years of tampering with the solar calendar eventually saw the holiday established on its more familiar date of January 1st. See, this explains to us why Christians today boil and color eggs. So from the Egyptian sources, this section opens with the presentation of different designations associated with the beginning of the year. There were 4 characteristic designations. The first one, coming out of Sothis. This is a star in the sky, we're going to talk about it. Opening of the year, beginning of the year, and birth of Ra. See that? So the new year of the Egyptians, just like with all of the Sabaic religions, starts with the coming of the sun god. Okay. These terms appear to have been linked to 4 distinctive moments regarded by Egyptians as important calendrical markers. The star Sirius, or Sothis, gives the pattern for all the other decanal stars. Sirius was astronomically the foundation of the entire Egyptian religious system. Its celestial movements determined the Egyptian calendar, which is even known as the Sothic calendar. Its helical rising marked the beginning of the Egyptian year and roughly coincided with the flooding of the Nile. So the helical rising is when the star Sirius, it's on your right, you can see the star Sirius on your right, it's rising with the sun. It's on the same level as the sun. When it's on the same level as the sun, and it appears on the horizon, as you can see, on the same level as the sun appearing on the horizon, this is called the helical rising. And just after the helical rising of Sirius, the Nile flood would happen. Okay? So they had a Nile flood every year that coincided with the coming of Sirius, that coincided with the coming of this star. It may be worth noting that the first of Thoth, and this is very interesting, I just want to say this is very interesting because the Mandaeans tell us that the sun came first and then the waters. Okay? And this is exactly what we're seeing with the Egyptians. The star comes first, star Sirius comes first, and then the Nile River floods. So the star comes first and then the waters come second. The star comes first and the Nile River floods. It may be worth noting that 1 Thoth of the Coptic calendar corresponds to 11 September, not to the helical rising of Sothis. This modification alludes to a link to the culmination of the Nile's inundation. So this means that the date has changed. Okay, there's been some changes made to the dates. It doesn't coincide, the current Coptic New Year doesn't coincide with the helical rising of Sothis. This modification alludes to a link to the culmination of the Nile's inundation. Indeed, the Coptic New Year's Day is celebrated as the festival of Nowruz. See that? The Egyptians celebrated Nowruz, and the name comes from the Egyptians, which has its etymological origin in Na Itru, the rivers, coupled with the confusion with the Persian designation of the new year, Nowruz. Okay. The Hindus celebrate Nowruz under a different name. The Hindus call it the Day of Holi. Okay? So let's go ahead and read about this holy celebration. Falguna, which is a month between February and March, is the 12th and final month of the Hindu lunar solar calendar. Each day is 1/30th of a month, with the intercalation of a leap month every 6 months. Quick note, should this not be every 3 years? So the solar lunar calendar, the lunar year is about 10 days shorter than a solar year. So what this means is that every 3 years you're supposed to add in a new a month, an intercalary month basically, so that it lines up, you know. Anyways, so if the Hindus have a lunar solar calendar, they should add a month, an intercalary month, every 3 years, right? So that the calendar doesn't go out of order. Time measurements based on observations of the constellations are used along with the calendar. Each month is divided into 2 fortnights: waning or dark half and waxing or bright half. In southern India, the month begins with the new moon. In other parts of the country, the full moon is considered to be the beginning of the month. Okay, so here's the moon cycle. The new moon apparently, in southern India at least, is the new year, and then in other parts of India the full moon is the new year. So remember this Falguna, okay? Remember the day of Falguna. Remember the month of Falguna. Amalika Ekadashi, celebrated on the 11th day of the waxing half of the Hindu month of Falguna. If you look at this image or drawing, perhaps, if you look at the drawing on your right, see where it says waxing gibbous, right? The 11th day would be in the waxing gibbous. So the 11th day of the waxing half means basically in the waxing gibbous. Among Hindus who respect all animate and inanimate things because they are manifestations of the universal spirit, this is a day of worshipping of the Amalika tree, where Vishnu is believed to live. An Amalika tree is ceremonically bathed and watered, a fast is observed, and Brahmins are given gifts. Amalika Ekadashi also marks the beginning of the Holi or spring festival in India, where people splash each other with colored water and red powder. This is where the Amalekites get their name from. Okay, the Amalekites are called Amalekites because they worship the Amalika tree, the tree where they believe Vishnu lives. Okay, the Hindus believe Vishnu lives in this tree called Amalika. And this is where the Amalekites get their name from. So this is celebrated just 2 or 3 days before the Holi festival. Okay, let's go ahead and read about Holi. According to the Hindu calendar, one of the most ancient festivals is Holi. It occurs on the full moon day. One of the most ancient festivals is Holi. It occurs on the full moon day of the month of Falguna, which is March according to the Gregorian calendar. So it occurs on the full moon day, okay? Meaning some parts of India would consider this the new year. Other parts of India consider it not the new year because they think the new moon is the new year, right? For two days, villages, towns, and cities witness merrymaking without restraint. Huge bonfires are prepared on the night before Holi, with men and women dancing and singing songs of love and passion. The following day, the smearing of colored powder and drenching in colored water begins the fun and frivolity. So, Nowruz this year was celebrated on March 19th. Holi this year was celebrated March 25th. Okay, so this is the Nowruz celebration. It's just a different name. They throw colors at each other. It could be that they were coloring the eggs and then two people got into a fight and, it turned into a color fight. I'm not sure. For some people in India, this is the new year. Holi is the new year. Other people in India say the new moon is the new year. So, it depends where you are. If you look to our left, we have the Hindus circumambulating the fire. The fire represents the sun god. So they're, paying respects to the sun god, form of worship, form of devotion, form of reverence towards the sun god because he emerged on this day. And below that image, the Zoroastrians doing the same thing, circumambulating the fire because it represents the sun god. Okay, the fire represents the sun god. So I want to talk about the trees. This is another thing that you're going to find in the Sabaic religions. Spirits living in trees. The Sabians believe that there are spirits living in the trees. The evidence for tree worship is almost unmanageably large. Numerous popular stories reflect a firmly rooted belief in an intimate connection between a human being and a tree, plant, or flower. Sometimes a man's life depends upon the tree and suffers when it withers or is injured. And we encounter the idea of external soul, already found in the Egyptian tale of the two brothers, of at least 3,000 years ago. Here, one of the brothers leaves his heart on top of the flower of the acacia and falls dead when it is cut down. Sometimes, however, the tree is an index, a mysterious token which shows its sympathy with an absent hero, by weakening or dying as the man becomes ill or loses his life. Thus, sometimes, the newborn child is associated with a newly planted tree, with which its life is supposed to be bound up. Or, on ceremonial occasions, betrothal, marriage, ascent to the throne, a personal relationship of this kind is instituted by planting trees, upon the fortune of which the career of the individual depends. Again, a man will put himself into a relationship with a tree by depositing upon it something which has been in his closest contact with himself: hair, clothing, etc. The custom of transferring disease or sickness from men to trees is well known. Sometimes the hair, nails, and clothing of a sick man are fixed to a tree, or they are forcibly inserted in a hole in the trunk, or the tree is split and the patient passes through the aperture where the tree has been thus injured. Its recovery and that of the patient are often associated. In India, for example, when the patient is supposed to be tormented by a demon, ceremonies are performed to provide it with a tree, where it will dwell peacefully, without molesting the patient. The trees are known as the scenes of pilgrimage, ritual ambulation, and the recital of prayers. In India, for example, the Korwas hang rags on the trees, which form the shrines of the village gods. In Nebraska, the object of the custom was to propitiate the supernatural beings and to procure good weather and hunting. Among the Arabs, the sacred trees are haunted by angels or by jinn. Sacrifices are made, and the sick who sleep beneath them receive a prescription in their dreams. Here, as frequently elsewhere, it is dangerous to pull a bow. This dread of damaging special trees is familiar. In the Homeric poem to Aphrodite, the tree nymph is wounded when the tree is injured, and dies when the trunk falls. Early Buddhism decided that trees had neither mind nor feeling and might lawfully be cut, but it recognized that certain spirits might reside in them, and the modern natives of India firmly believe. In the Gold Coast, the silk, cotton, and autumn poison trees are specially sacred as the abode of the two deities who are honored by sacrifices, even of human victims. These indwell trees must not be cut, And since all trees of these species are under the protection, we're going to talk about human sacrifices later on, just so you know. Since all the trees of these species are under their protection, they can be felled only after certain purificatory ceremonies. In general, the evidence shows that sacred trees must not be injured unless they, meaning their spirits, have been appeased, or means taken to provide the occupant with another abode. These trees embody the local deities much in the same way as the North European homestead had a tree or a small grove for the guardian spirit, or lord of the home. The Baduyas of the central provinces of India worship the souls of their ancestors in the groves of sage trees. Thus, among the natives of South Nigeria, each village had a big tree into which the spirits of the dead are supposed to enter. When a woman wants a child, when a man is sick, sacrifice is made to the tree. And if the god or soul who lives in the sky is favorable, the request is granted. Just as Indian natives have gods which are supposed to dwell in trees, so in higher religions we find Zeus or Dionysius and dendrous gods, occupants of trees. So Zeus, the sun god, just like Vishnu, lives in a tree. Syrian writers speak of a king of the forest and of a tall olive tree, to the worship of which Satan seduced people, but these were hewn down by zealous Christians, and Caliph Omar cut down the tree at Hudaybah, visited by pilgrims. See that? The Meccans, the Nabateans of Petra, aka Mecca, also had trees that they worshipped. Obviously they had trees. They were called Amalekites. Tradition says, this is from the Mandaean sources, tradition says that children who die in infancy and are not baptized pass into a limbo, where they are nourished by the milky fruits of a tree. At the end of the world they are baptized in the heavenly Jordan and taken to the worlds of light. There's the tree, okay? The souls of children who were not baptized, they can't go to the world of light because they weren't baptized. So they live in this tree until the end of the world, and then, after the end of the world, they can make their way into the light world. And this is where the phrase "knock on wood" comes from, right? You hear, many Europeans, many people from the United States saying "knock on wood." Where does that come from? They believed back then that deities lived in trees. So if they want to make a request to the god, they knock on wood and make the request. Okay. Next lecture is going to be about the 5 intercalary days. The year had 365 days. Back then the Sabians celebrated 360 days and they added 5 intercalary days. Okay, so the year had 360 days and they added 5 intercalary days. We're going to read about those 5 intercalary days. Very interesting. Come back for some more information. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed this lecture. Bye-bye.